Hey, Mr. Toffee here, and let's talk about Gamescom Asia. Bet you didn't know that happened. Gamescom Asia took place during the weekend of the 15th to 17th October. The same weekend where the biggest Dota 2 tournament in the world and the biggest DC Online event were taking place, as well as a bunch of Genshin Impact stuff. It's easy for an event like Gamescom Asia to get lost in the shuffle, especially since Gamescom Prime already happened a few months ago. But still, gotta have those Asian games showcased for next year and beyond in a big end-of-year event, right? Because the rest of the show was mostly for business and networking stuff. But generally, that's what the start of Gamescom should be. It's all about the video games. And what do we have? Quite a lot of indie titles that look pretty interesting. So let's dive right in. First up, we have Chinese developer OKJoy. It's a really cool looking pixel-like adventure game, which kind of reminds me of the one that's made by Toge Games Productions. The Heroes Around Me. I believe it's an old school adventure game set in old school China, I believe, during the 80s, 70s? Oh, the game I'm thinking about is A Space for the Unbound. I'm getting that sort of vibe, but A Space for the Unbound already has that supernatural powers and 80s Indonesia trapping thing going on, you know. It just shows an adventure game in China, and that's about it so far. Maybe it'll showcase more stuff in the coming year or so. We'll see. Looks interesting. The pixel art looks nice. I mean, it's not great or groundbreaking, but it's nice. It's calm. It's pleasing on the eyes. Muli's Dreamland. That looks pretty cute. It's a 2D shooter. You control Muli and she has to destroy all these nightmares that are plaguing her, I guess. Looks pretty cute. Yeah, it's a 2D shooter. It's not much to say. It's a shmup. Control her and she just blasts things to Kingdom Come. Looks pretty cool. I just hope, this is probably going to be one of those easy games to play based on the art style. Maybe it could be deafeningly challenging. Could be deceptively challenging, yes. There's a lot of bullet hell going on. I mean, not the crazy kind of Danmaku bullet hell, but it looks challenging enough despite its cute exterior. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. I mean, I kind of like people going back to their roots, their 2D shmup roots, and see how that goes. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I hope the controls and the mechanics are sound. I hope there's a boss rush and a score attack mode coming. Yeah, it's coming for Nintendo Switch and PC, and also for mobile phones. Alright, so this game's called Climber Sky is the Limit, and you pretty much play a character in first person, prepare an expedition, climb the dangerous mountains of God knows where. It's probably the Himalayas. You gotta wear the correct outfits, you gotta bring the correct equipment to build up the rope, put the ladder, get from point A to point B, mark your location so that you don't get lost in the snow, and climb up and not die, of course. So it's kind of like Death Stranding, but it has a point. Alright, so Hooded Horse has this game called Old World. I believe it's coming out on PC next year. It's basically a 4X title like Civilization with a bunch of tweaks here and there. It's got the hex map panel and a bunch of heroes you can control and use and boost up. You can actually create your own religions. I mean, you can based on the ones you have, you can build up your society and conquer worlds and countries here and there and spread your civilization or just downright conquer stuff along the way. This looks very epic. This is also one of those games I'm looking forward to. I love Civilization 6. I love games that are similar to Civilization. Even with the art style and the graphics and the detail of the game, this looks very promising. Aramite Games has showcased a trailer for its game called Against the Storm. I believe it's a community building, it's a simulation roguelike kind of game. You open up new areas, you build your settlement, you gotta brave through the wild and the storm and the fires and lightning and whatever that's happening in your village. You gotta survive as long as you can before you die. Roguelike city builders, that's what it is. That's what it is, basically. That's the word I'm looking for. You got monsters, you gotta make sure to kill them or, avoid them. Looks pretty promising. I'm a fan of this kind of art style too, this whole aesthetic fantasy kind of shtick with the anthropomorphic animals and the city building aspect of it. It's coming out on the 18th. That's pretty cool. That's a couple of days from now. Nimbus Infinity. This is a mecha online game. It looks very sleek. You got the first person thing going on. You control a mech and you kill things. Looks pretty sleek. You shoot missiles and shit. Is it multiplayer? I can't really tell, but you know what? If it's got a single player campaign that's very, very active and very, very action intensive with the Zone of the Ender style combat going on, I am totally down for it. Alright, this is a MOBA called Lokapala from Anantarupa Studios from Indonesia. I believe after playing so many MOBA games like Mobile Legends and League of Legends and Dota 2, I believe some developers are kind of sick of relying on Western developers making their games, so they've decided to pool in their esports resources and just make their own MOBA using mythical characters from Southeast Asia. Looks pretty interesting. I'm not a big MOBA guy, so I can't really give you my big opinion on it. I know that Mobile Legends is super popular. I won't say they're cashing in on something. I believe they're just trying to build something that they can claim as their own, claim Indonesia as their own. You know, something that they can use without relying on other publishers. Yeah, based on the experiences these developers have with other MOBAs that are in the market, making your own as well as having the rights and the payments and the money for it, you know, getting people on board as well as getting the many esports groups to actually support them. I think this could work. But again, I think it's all down to the net coding and the networking. If that works out just fine, you got colorful characters, yeah, I think it could work out. Yes, people can make fun of this game being a knockoff of League of Legends and Dota 2, but you gotta remember, Mobile Legends is a knockoff, and that game is doing very, very fine. Having a MOBA that's a clone of another MOBA that's being made in a country close to home, close to its party and people, I've definitely heard of worse ideas. Okay, this 101 Forgotten game looks pretty cool. It's from this studio called Lentera. They showcase a bunch of games in a row. And this adventure game with the spooky things going on looks pretty interesting. I just hope the story turns out alright. It's got a nice art style and a nice little jump scare thing going on. So if you're into Fright Night kind of stuff, but with the Asian flavor like Dread Out, but in 2D and a visual novel style, it looks interesting. Also, boobies. And Gigabash also made an appearance, showcased a little bit of the 4-player PvP gameplay going on. It looks pretty fun. I've actually tried this game out a couple of years back, the early builds. It plays alright, and there's a single player mode too for those who actually want like a single player thing going on. This game will live and die by its multiplayer and online implementation and its party game mechanics and the battle and brawl thing going on. So it's good that Gigabash, the Malaysian developers, are tapping into what made Godzilla, All Out War and all those old Godzilla brawler games work, and then bringing it in except with their own take on tokusatsu and monster shows and Godzilla style films and whatnot, making their own thing and going with it. And it looks pretty fun. Definitely gonna be checking this out next year. So I reported on this game called Nightcrawlers. This is a cute little action game where it's all physics based. You carry a bunch of big hammers, you swing them around physics style, you know, swinging them around, killing enemies, level up, gain great weapons and armor and stuff, and you can spawn your own enemies. That's pretty cool. But it really depends on the longevity of it. It can't just be these few levels. It needs more, you know. I just need to see more of this, and having little cute giant monsters and cute baby ducks to kill, that's pretty fun. And having your own skill list to choose from in the roguelike, I think it's a roguelike setting, maybe, but we'll see how it goes. Looks promising, but it needs to showcase more beyond just the physics-based gimmick. I'm cautiously optimistic, but it looks like a fun time. Hopefully that'll be out next year. Last but not least is this Lie Games developed title called Arcade Legend. You are a guy who has a basement and has to fill it up with arcade machines for people to visit and play. And of course, you get to test out the arcade machines, obviously create your own avatar, but also to attract more customers, place them in the correct order or the order you like, and then have people come down and play the arcade games. That looks pretty interesting. And it's all done in VR. It's a VR game, I believe, based on how shaky the trailer is, and the neon aesthetics does make sense because actual arcades are kind of dingy. So having this set in a very fantastical kind of way, it's a good way to actually attract people to play this simulation. Yeah, and of course, I'm sure the arcade games themselves are kind of fun to play, but the whole point is to actually present it in a different kind of perspective, in a nice VR perspective. So yeah, hats off to the developers. Hopefully this turns out alright. I believe this is coming out next year. Looks pretty colorful, that's all I can say. But in terms of how they implement VR tech, you know, the controls and whatnot, that remains to be seen. This is a kind of game where you're kind of required to actually go offline to a show to test it out for yourself with the VR helmet and everything, just to convince players and convince reviewers and critics. Yeah, and that is it for our Gamescom Asia video game wrap-up. Obviously not as big as the actual Gamescom, but you know, for a show that just showcases a lot of indie titles, that's a lot to actually look forward to. Looks pretty cool. Pretty awesome stuff. All the titles I talked about, they're all coming out in early 2022 or late 2022, and well, basically they're coming out next year. You can go wishlist them on PC, on Steam, go check them out on the consoles that you play. If there's a demo for it, just play through that. It looks pretty interesting. Thanks again for tuning in. If you like this video, do subscribe to us and get notified about new gaming content from KKP. Just click on that bell icon, that'll help us out a lot. We post new content every week. Bye for now and stay safe.